So what I'm trying to say is that I think AI is going to displace a lot more workers for a lot longer than was typical in past innovations. And the reason for that is because it just seems like a replacement of people. It's not a replacement of a function of people, right? With like tractors, that's a replacement of like farming, right? Where the .com era was a replacement of like the media and of brick and mortar stores. But we've never encountered a replacement of people. And that, I think, is the crucial difference with this innovation. In this video, I'm going to be talking about why I think people should be farming amidst an AI revolution. And I cover the economy, unemployment, commodities, why farming is going to be so valuable, why skills are going to be so valuable, why we need to take skills into our own hand, and why community is going to be the most valuable thing. You know, you could say that the .com era displaced, print media, and it displaced like brick and mortar stores in the long run. But overall, it created a lot of jobs. It pretty much created the vast majority of jobs that we have today. And you go back to the Industrial Revolution, and I think pre-Industrial Revolution, if I remember right, like 85% of people were farmers, which is nuts. And yeah, of course the Industrial Revolution made it so that you didn't need as many farmers because they could just grow food at mass scale, mass produce it. So not as many people needed to farm. So at first that might have seemed to them like a catastrophe, like, oh my God, these machines that are going to be farming are going to take all of our jobs, right? So that's one way of thinking about it. Like in the long run, innovation tends to be a good thing for allowing people more freedom for what they want to do in life, and for, overall boosting the economy, bringing up the standard of living, etc. But then there's the other side, which I feel slightly more concerned about for the next decade, which is AI seems to be something a little bit different in that the whole aim of it, right, of robots, of AI in general, is to displace people. That is the whole aim. If it's not, please explain it to me, because the aim of it is to drastically make things more productive, more efficient, but also profitable, right? That is the core driver of AI, in my opinion, is making things more profitable for the people who have the best AI models, which of course are going to be billionaires, the largest corporations. The people like us who are at the bottom or the middle class, we're not going to be having the best AI models. We're not going to be, really competing, at least in theory. I mean, who knows? But if that's the case, then wealth disparity gets far, far worse in the next decade. And we're already at pretty much record extremes as it is. So what I'm trying to say is that I think AI is going to displace a lot more workers for a lot longer than was typical in past innovations. And the reason for that is because it just seems like a replacement of people. It's not a replacement of a function of people, right? With like tractors, that's a replacement of like farming, right? Where the .com era was a replacement of like the media and of brick and mortar stores. But we've never encountered a replacement of people. And that, I think, is the crucial difference with this innovation. And my concern is, what is the plan for when this displacement happens? Because it's already barely starting to happen, right? We know that most employers want to fire most of their employees to replace them with AI bots, robots in the future, because that is the whole incentive of business, is it not? To make money, which I fundamentally disagree with. I think we need to rewrite what success is to be for the betterment of the people around us. And yes, you need some profit, but that shouldn't be the sole motive, right? And I think that's the distortion that we have in the world today. But yeah, that's for another video. So if that's the case, if I'm right on that thesis that it's replacing people, then, and it's going to only get better at replacing the complex functions that humans do today, right? Like right now, it's really good at a few things, and it's replacing, customer service with customer service bots on mass scale. That's already happening. But it's just going to keep getting better at displacing people overall. And if unemployment gets up to, let's say, 20% in the next 5-6 years, which I think is very feasible given the acceleration in innovation that AI has shown us that it can do, one, you have to think about what is that going to do to the economy, right? I mean, if it's really that bad, I don't think that the AI productivity boom, which we haven't really seen manifest itself in terms of like GDP or productivity. But if that happens, I don't know how we don't have a depression, right? I don't know how we don't have like the worst labor market we've had since the Great Depression. And if that's the case, do we have universal basic income? Do we not have that for a long time, which would be a pretty disastrous situation, which could happen given the backdrop of how bad our debt is in the United States and also many other developed countries. Their debt situation, like Japan and the UK, are really bad. And given that backdrop, do we do universal basic income right away? I'm not so sure. So we may have a really, really, really tough time ahead of us before we get to whatever that other side of the fence might be of like, productivity boom and everyone's riding the high of this new era. I just don't see how it's possible with this amount of person displacement. It's not just job displacement. You're displacing people, because if you create something that can literally do the functions of a person, all of them, except for maybe, trade like plumbing, but that, I don't know how that wouldn't come eventually. So what we have is a existential threat to people's role in the economy. And to me, to bring this really long story full circle, that makes me feel really good about going down the route of farming. I want to be as self-sufficient as humanly possible. I want to build my own home. I don't want to have a 30-year mortgage. I don't want to be paying for a mortgage and food, which are the two largest costs, except for maybe insurance in the future, who knows? I mean, with climate change, insurance already has gone up a lot, but I think it's going to continue going up given how bad our climate is projected to become. So yeah, who knows what the largest costs are going to be in the future. But the point is, I think farming is a part of a larger narrative of self-sufficiency. I think that is really what I want to be driving home here, which is we cannot be giving up our skills. We cannot be giving up the things that allow us to live a free and fulfilling life, right? So that's food, housing, security, community, water, all the things that we need in life, we can do ourselves. We can do as a community. We can do it through reciprocity, right? Not through just a system of like competition. I think when you're in a community that actually looks after each other, reciprocity is what makes the most sense, right? Like I do something for you because I know that you're going to be doing something in return. And if you have a community of people with a wide set of skills and determination and enough resources and money, which of course it takes some money in today's age to buy land, to farm, but you don't need that much land. right? I'm sure some of you who are subscribed to my channel have heard me talk about how little land you need. Like, I'll probably link it in this video. In the description, I'll link a video where this guy, I can't remember exactly where he is, but he's in a Mediterranean climate, and he grows all of his food on a 1/4 acre for the entire year. Him and I think one other person in the house. I've also talked to John Dye. You can see his interview on my channel. I'll post that in the description as well. But this is a man from Thailand who's a farmer. He has built many natural buildings, and we talk about that in the interview. But he talks about the same thing. He's like, you don't need much land. You can do it on a 1/4 acre. I think he has said that he's grown for a family of 5 on somewhere around a 1/4 to a 1/2 acre. I'm not sure. But the point is, you don't need as much as you think you need, and it's not as hard as people tend to think it is. Farming doesn't have to be so difficult. There's a lot of resources out there, and I'm going to be one of them in the future when we finally get to land and we start farming. But I'm also, putting out videos in the meantime of how to be more self-sufficient and, go down this route of building your own home, growing your own food, building community, and ultimately just how to live a life that you want to live, how to empower yourself. And how this relates to AI, I think, is what has been happening for a long time now is humans have been outsourcing the skills to other businesses, other companies, to the government to take care of them, right? And overall, not a terrible thing. I think a lot of people need that, and not everybody's going to be able to do what I'm advocating for here. But I think the more people that do what I'm advocating for here, the more people that plant trees that, like an apple tree, for instance, produces way more apples than you will ever eat in a year. So let's say you plant, a bunch of apple trees, a bunch of orange trees, a bunch of nut trees, and it takes a few years for them to develop. But now you have so much abundance that you can rely on, that you can share with people in your community. That is what we need in this type of system. That is what we need when we are dealing with an existential threat to our place in the economy, right? We need to take the skills into our own hands. We need to be more self-sufficient so that we are not completely reliant, literally completely reliant on the system, and have no ability to escape any longer, right? No ability to live the life that we want to live, just like a cog in a machine at that point, right? And I think a lot of people have been feeling that for a long time. And I know these things may sound extremely overwhelming, but the more knowledge you have, the less overwhelming it seems. The more you look into it, the less overwhelming it seems to do something like start a community or join an existing community. The less overwhelming it seems to start farming, to start planting trees. Trees are not hard to plant. You don't even need to know what you're doing. You'll probably have enough intuition as it is to plant a bunch of trees and have them succeed. You just need a very limited amount of knowledge, and you can learn that from just doing it. So yeah, that's my recommendation, is just start doing it. But the building as well. I mean, it sounds so daunting to build a house, but if you watch, I'll link John Dye's channel in the description. If you watch his videos on natural building, they are really not that difficult. And if you have a group of people who are dedicated to achieving this sense of freedom and self-sufficiency, you will realize that, in my opinion, it's not as hard as we've been led to believe. And to me, if you can build a structure to live in, and let's say on the long end, like half a year to a year, somewhere in that range, when you have a group of people who are dedicated to doing it, think about how that pays itself off very, very quickly. That amount of labor, that amount of work. If you're able to do that and you don't have a mortgage, right? you've probably saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run because of the mortgage that you're going to be avoiding, right? And not just that, but like your daily life with flexibility for what you want to do for work, what you want to do in your free time, right? Is way more flexible when you don't have to spend that much money to survive. I think that's the way so many people are feeling nowadays, which is like just survival mode. And I'm not saying that this is an easy thing to do to get enough money to get a community, but I'm saying it's worth it. I'm saying I think more people should be doing this because we need to look out for one another. We need to get back to actually caring for one's neighbor. And the way that we can do that is with the abundance that the earth provides. And there's one more thing I want to talk about in this context, which is that I do a lot of research into the economy, into markets, into commodities, and I know this isn't really an economy channel or a stock market channel or anything like that, but just looking at basic charts, and I'll probably show one on the screen here, you can see that commodities, which is gold, silver, natural gas, oil, copper, platinum, palladium, rare earths, agriculture, land, food, right? These are commodities. These are things that are the most undervalued in all of recorded history. More undervalued than they were in 2000, more undervalued than they were in 1966, more undervalued than they were in 1929. And when you have this backdrop of severe undervaluation in commodities, what typically has happened is you have commodities become way more expensive, and that means the standard of living become way more expensive over the next decade to couple decades. Commodity cycles are about 17 years on average. So with all this context in mind, right, of AI kind of being a people displacer, of climate change being a really big issue for the present and for the future, of unemployment potentially spiking very, very high, 20+% over the next few years. You have commodities the most undervalued they've ever been, which typically precedes a commodity bull market, which will last a decade plus. You have really a compelling narrative in my mind to why we should start investing in real things, tangible things, right? People, land, food, skills that we can take into our own hands. Not to mention precious metals. I think everybody should own them. Not financial advice, but that's what I think everyone should be doing. So that's my rant for today. I know it's kind of all over the place, but there's a lot of reasons for why I think people should be farming today. I'll probably dedicate a whole bunch of more videos to this. Why we need permaculture, why we need to change our mindset on success, on community, on the quality of food that we're growing today, and exactly how to do all that, because I've been researching this for the past decade. So yeah, like and subscribe if you want to join me on this journey of building community. Myself and 5 other people are going to be potentially buying land in the next year and starting this whole endeavor ourselves. This has been a plan in the works for a while, and trying to grow all of our food ourselves and building homes ourselves with natural materials, using things like sand, clay, straw. These things are incredibly strong and durable materials that you can get for very, very cheap. So we're going to be doing all this, hopefully for a long time, and it all works out great. Like and subscribe.